Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Second Act Actors. I'm your host, Dr. Janet McMordie, and I'm still a medical doctor simultaneously to run and pursue a career in acting. My guest this week is Ava Val. Ava is a phenomenal stand-up comedian who I've known for a while now. We met during an acting intensive, and she told me she was a stand-up comedian and had a show that night. Just a little show, just for laughs Toronto. Oh my gosh. So, of course, I was like, I want to see you. So I went and saw her perform live that night. We talk about this in the episode. It was incredible. And I just absolutely fell in love with her and her comedy, and just everything about what she does is just, so great. Also, during my live episode with Colin Mockery and Deb McGrath, which you can watch online, by the way, she was my, what would you call it? Mistress of ceremonies? I don't know. MC. She did a stand-up bit. It was the best. I will never forget standing backstage. I've got Colin Mockery, my idol, Deb McGrath, my other idol, standing beside me. Ava's up on stage doing her thing, crushing it. And Colin is just right by my shoulder, and he just goes, "She is just so good. She is just so funny," in his very calm Colin Mockery way. I absolutely agree. Please enjoy the incredible Ava Val. Story. Like, how did you become stand-up comedian?
Oh boy. When I was a young lad, how far back do you want me to go?
However you feel.
Okay. I grew up in a big family, 4 siblings, and there's a lot of big personalities, and we're like an overachieving family, so there's only so much. Just basically our family was big, and we would bicker a lot. And growing up, I always loved the fact that like what bonded us, what brought us together, was sitting around the TV and watching like Whose Line Is It Anyway, and Mr. Bean, and quoting Monty Python and stuff like that. So, like, I think just fundamentally, intrinsically in me growing up, I just very viscerally understood the uniting power of comedy, and just how, like, having a laugh just brings people together. So I think that's, like, the driving force in me, to be like, I just want everybody to get along, and I just want everybody to come together. I just want peace and harmony through laughter. That's my agenda. So basically, really, in high school, I just, it was Dane Cook that got me into, like, stand-up. Dane Cook blew up when I was in high school, and something about in his albums, because I didn't know what he looked like for years. All I had to go on was his albums. And just the, like, energy in the room, and the love, and the way he just had them so captive, eating out of his hands. And the explosive, just the energy you could feel in every moment and every delivery. I was just like, it was contagious. I was like, I want that feeling. I want to be the conductor of that energy. And so in high school, I just kind of knew. I just decided, I was like, that's what I want. I want to do that. And I'm going to be the next Dane Cook. So, like, first thing out of university, I went to London's Funniest Person competition in London, Ontario. And I got, like, a single chuckle. I bombed so hard. Janet. And I got a single chuckle, but that was enough for me to be like, oh, I was meant to do this. That one guy, that one chuckle, that guy knows what's up. He sees a star. And that's kind of just how it all kicked off, I guess.
But, like, what did you, in high school and in university, like, I was about to say, did you take stand-up comedy university? Like, what did you, like, were you kind of told, no, that's not a practical, pragmatic career path, do something else? Like, how did that education grow to now be in stand-up comedy?
Yeah, I was told by everybody that it was an impractical, idiotic thing, especially because I was growing up, I was always a natural at academics. Like I barely had to try. I really frankly coasted and still got A's. It was just, not to brag or anything, it was just kind of like easy for me. And growing up, before I transitioned, I was literally I'm named after my dad. I was named after my dad. And my dad is a surgeon and a very like revered one in his community. And so everybody just always like associated me with him. And everybody always projected that onto me to be like, you're going to grow up to be just like your dad. You're going to be a surgeon. And so for me to announce, basically, I was like, for me to announce to my entire family that I'm obsessed with stand-up and this is what I'm going to do, it took them, like, honestly, a decade to believe me. It took them a decade of them being like, are you still doing your sketches? Are you still doing your little jokies? Yeah, but like, nobody was on board for a while. It's the kind of thing where my family is supportive, but you can subtextually tell how much they approve of what you're doing, which is like, that's a family thing, right? Like, they were like, if this is what you want, go ahead and do it. Yes. We support you. Yeah.
What did you take at school?
I took psych. I majored in psychology.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And so tell me about, and were you at Western?
Yep.
Yeah. So tell me about your time at Western when you made the choice to like go to that contest. Like, was that just something being like, I have to do this?
Yeah. It was October 17th, 2006. Either 17th or 18th. I just got to pick one at this point. I think
because your 10-year anniversary's coming up.
No, it just passed.
Oh,
we're in November.
God.
Yeah. It passed.
And another sip of coffee for me. Okay.
My 18-year anniversary.
Damn.
Yeah. Sweet 18.
Yeah. You can vote now.
I can vote now.
God.
Yeah. Comedically. With a clown nose. What's that? Oh, yeah. Oh, so just, it kind of like I said, I got so obsessed with stand-up in high school and I became like this stand-up scholar. Like anytime I could get my hands on any compilation off Kazaa, I riddled my family's computer with viruses, just like downloading as much stand-up as I possibly could and just like consuming it. So by the time university came around, I was obsessed. And on like orientation week at Western, I found there was a comedy club, like a social comedy club where they would get together every week and they would do improv games. And they had like an improv troupe that you would try out for. And they would do shows at all the residences. And so immediately I was like, yeah, of course, this is my club. I will take over in 4 to 7 years. I don't know how long it'll take me to finish this degree, but this club will be mine. And yeah, like within the first 2 weeks, they were a pretty good resource. Nobody there took it as seriously as me, easily. I came in there like a comet, and I was just like, this is going to be my life. So I came in with a real obsessive, intense energy. But one person knew about this competition, and I was like, that's it. First thing I'm going to do is a competition. And I'm going to win this motherfucker. And I got one chuckle, and I was like, that's enough for me. You can't tell me I didn't win that shit. Mm-hmm.
Well, and like, so how, going from a scholar of stand-up, so like a fan, a scholar, like you were saying, you're ingesting as much as possible, Does that just, in your experience, naturally translate into, like, now I can write my own jokes? But, like, to me, that seems like a big step. Like, how did you learn how to, like, create your own work?
That's a really insightful question. I think it was basically the obsessiveness with which I consumed it. I think I just kind of absorbed how joke structure works and the rhythm and the cadence and the patterns of, like, what constitutes a joke, how, like, the surprise needs to typically be on the very last word of the punchline. You need a concise and clear setup, and then whatever the last word needs to be the trigger. And it's, once you get the basic of that, that's what a joke is. So I think just basically what I'm saying is consuming as much stand-up as I did was enough for me to, like, learn joke structure. And, you know, at 18 years old, what the fuck life knowledge do I have that I'm gonna write about? Like, I just did, like, Mitch Hedberg style absurdist non sequiturs, just like one-liners. And I think the joke I got a laugh on was some play off of Reuben sandwiches and naming your kid after a sandwich and being like, "Hey Reuben, dinner's ready, come on in." It's like, see, it barely got a chuckle now. I swear to God, now that I think about it, it might have been a sneeze. I think the guy just sneezed. I was like, they love me. Yeah, so I think you can take classes on stand-up, and I won't take anything away from people who do, but stand-up is best learned through trial and error and through doing it yourself and getting up and trying and failing, because you can learn structure and you can learn only so much about how to write a joke and how to put it on paper. But the act of delivering the joke and doing it in your voice and with your rhythm and your cadence, that is developed over a long period of time. A lot of trial and error, a lot of failure, a ton of failure. And so the best way to learn stand-up is by doing it. You can only take so many classes. You can only sit at home. You can only rehearse in front of the mirror so many times. You need the experience. Yeah.
To me, like, with stand-up and improv, like, being, like, the two pillars of comedy, being so different in the fact that, like, improv and acting, to be honest, like, requires, like, there are other people around you who can catch you when you fall. Where stand-up, you are just you, vulnerable as fuck on the stage. Like, do you like to do both of those things, or is there a reason that stand-up has really kind of been what has pulled you?
I took that comedy club, like I said, they met every week for improv, and they had that improv troupe. And I wanted to do everything. I wanted to do all of it. Because from the start, I always believed, I mean, I loved it all. Because, like I said, I watched Who's Line growing up, so, like, I wanted to emulate that as well. And I always intrinsically just knew that the more well-rounded I was, and the more different sort of skill sets I had, in terms of comedy in general, the better I would be at everything overall and individually each different thing. Like, if I did stand-up, it would make me better at monologuing and improv. And if I did improv, it would make me more adaptable and better with crowd work in stand-up. Like, it all just contributes to a sum that's greater than its parts. I forget the question. I got so proud of saying some greater than its parts. I was like, clever girl. And then I completely forgot what we were talking about.
Well, it's more about, like, the vulnerability of stand-up, being there on your own. Like,
oh yeah,
how do you do it?
It really takes a certain just resiliency. Stand-up really truly is launching yourself into the fear and the unknown and the risk. And not knowing what's going to happen on the other side, especially at the very beginning. you don't know what's going to work and what's going to bomb. And you also don't know what it feels like to bomb. It is such a unique humiliation, truly. And so really, this is harsh, but it's like the best way to get past it is by experiencing it over and over and over again. And then, getting out the night after and being like, I'm still alive. Last night was excruciating and humiliating, but I'm still here. I'm still alive. I still have something to say. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to try it again. And I'm going to say it again. So while I do appreciate that when you're doing improv with somebody, you can fall back on them and there is this collaborative element to it, I think the fear of bombing alone and being all alone up there is, to me, it's deprioritized, or it's not as important as the feeling of the sense of pride and ownership of, like, this is all me, baby. So my failures are all because of me, but my successes are also only because of me. And I can be proud and I can stand tall and be like, I won this room. Me. So high risk, high reward kind of thing. Like, the fact that you killed it all on your own is well worth the risk of humiliating yourself and being like, I was all alone up there.
Tell me about how you grew your career. When the decision was made to be like, I'm going to do stand-up, how does one become a stand-up?
Oh, man. I'll be honest, 18 years in, I'm still kind of learning. I'm such a child. I am such a child. And there's so many, I really sincerely feel like I am held back by my inability to organize and my executive dysfunction, and the fact that I am still, by nature, what draws me to this career is the play of it. I just love playing. That's all I ever wanted to do, was just play. And there's so much in this career that you have to do to make it a career that isn't playful. It's not fun. The arduous things like learning how to edit videos, I don't know, that might be fun to some people, but the technological aspect of it, of like cultivating your social media, your brand, being mindful of how you appear off stage, everything off stage, your branding and marketing yourself in a way that you not only grabs people's attention, but keeps it and loyally keeps them around. And now, especially with the changing landscape of what stand-ups have to do to stay relevant, and how quickly you have to turn over material and put out crowd work videos just to have something to keep people's eyes on you and not forget about you, because there's so much noise out there. So that's, I should organize my thoughts. That's kind of vaguely one big thing. But a lot of stand-up is, of course, networking and going out every single night. And the more you perform, not only the more you get better at your act, but the more peers you meet in the community and the more connections you make. And even though stand-up is like a lone wolf kind of thing, we're all sort of on our own, we have to be producers too. And so we have to connect with each other and get on each other's shows and produce shows and learn how to advertise those. That is an entirely different skill set. Sales, you have to know how to like cold call bars and venues and pitch yourself and negotiate prices. There are to be a stand-up comedian, especially in Canada, where there are no agents for stand-up. Nobody is going to book you, work for you. You have to do it yourself. Unless you're signed by Yuck Yucks. And even then, there's only a finite amount of clubs, and they're very restrictive on what they let their rostered comedians do. And so, as a comic in Canada, you have to do so much on your own. The sales, the marketing, the branding, the performance itself. You have to do all of it. You have to really learn a broad skill set. And there's a lot that I'm still lacking. I'm a cutie pie on stage, and I think I got a pretty fun brand.
Yeah, you do.
But But I can't cold call. I can't negotiate. My career is right now barely surviving on just people knocking on my door. And my reputation is just bringing in work right now, which is very lucky. And not just lucky, but it's been earned over a very long period of time. I've been doing this for so long. I've put the hours in. So I am proud to say that the work just kind of knocks on my door. But when there are lulls, like I really have to buck up and learn how to sell. Sorry, that was a really long answer.
No, I think it's fascinating because I think there's a lot of similarities, I think, with like an acting career. Honestly, a career in like the whimsical arts where there isn't like a formal education process where it's like, here's your certificate, you're now a stand-up comic. We've given you all the tools you need and now you may go do the job. Like it doesn't exist. Like, so how did you learn how to do this? Did you have mentors? Was it just like Google? How did you learn what you needed to do?
I would say it was a mix of like trial and error, which that's just so much of stand-up, not only on stage, but yeah, in like learning how best to pitch yourself to a bar or a venue. But I did also, like, along the way, the older comics that you meet, a lot of them are willing to help and to take you under their wing. And so I had a mentor for a long time named Jeff Leeson. He's a stand-up comic that I like. He's like my big brother. I see him as he's family to me. And just being able to come to him with any questions I had was really helpful. Just listening to him talk about how he booked this venue and just sort of standing on the sidelines and watching him interact with the managers and the owners when we got there, and just seeing how he conducted himself. And any questions that I might have about merch or something like that, there are elders in the community that you can always come to, who most of them are fairly helpful. Most of them know what it's like to struggle and are very benevolent about their advice. And so and not only that, but like, if you make friends with a comedian who blows up, like I got some comedian friends who are very popular on TikTok and Instagram, and it helps to have friends who've blown up, because you can be like, what's your strategy? Like, how did you find a way to break through to an audience? And like, yeah, how do you put together a tour? And yeah, what's your merch situation like? How do you do that? It's all there's no class. I mean, there are classes, yes, they exist, but I suppose my way, the way that I did it, is I wouldn't even call it old school. I think I would call it just like through sheer tenacity and grit and trial and error, just doing it, doing it. That's what stand-up is. Just do it.
Has there been, has there been anything that's been surprising in the last 18 years of doing stand-up that just like surprised you about this industry?
I sincerely continue to be surprised by how the industry changes, and the art form itself is changing because of technology. Like, Dane Cook, for example, way back, blew up because he took advantage of MySpace and the really, really early days of social media. He would message his fans directly and develop this huge following on MySpace because he was accessible. He made himself accessible to his fans. They could talk to him, and that like blew him up. And the way stand-up is changing now, because everyone's on their phones, everybody's scrolling, everybody's looking for a quick hit of whatever. And it's more about quantity than quality, frankly, and about being relevant and just pumping out content. The word content is relatively new. We've sort of reduced entertainment to content. Like, how do you package this and just deliver it and deliver it and just keep pumping it out, pump out content? So that's really affected what stand-up is and how stand-up comedians perform. There's so much more crowd work because that is easy to write and polish and give to people rather than like honing and crafting material and developing it over time. It's easy to ask a guy, hey, are you married to this chick? And then he makes a face and you're like, oh, he's in the doghouse. And then boom, you got a clip. It's easy to do that. And so stand-up, I won't say stand-up has suffered as a result, but the landscape has changed and the way comedians perform is way more crowd work involved, for sure, because everybody's looking for their next clip. And in response, audiences, since they're so used to seeing crowd work on their phones, will go to shows anticipating crowd work. So people are chattier, people will call out more readily. You'll look out into the front row, and immediately, sometimes I'll go to shows, and I'll look out, and I'll be like, okay, that's the asshole. Because there will be a guy just, like, buzzing in his seat, just like he can't wait to be a part of the show. You know? It's changed to become way more interactive.
That is so interesting. I never would have thought about that, but it makes complete sense given the accessibility piece that you were talking about. Mm-hmm. Like these parasocial relationships that we now have because of social media, that people must feel connected to you more than they actually are, for good and for bad. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. You're no longer, it's no longer a one-way broadcast. It's so interactive now that people are more commonly, they feel a part of the show.
Right.
Actively a part of the show.
Huh. And yeah, like I was about to ask you about, like, you know, the change in like what is deemed funny has obviously changed over time, but also the way that we consume it. Now that I'm thinking about, like, when I was a kid, we listened to Bill Cosby records, and then, like you were saying, Whose Line was on TV, Dane Cook, these comedy specials, where now those like long form comedies, on Netflix, you can see them every so often, but now it's, again, the attention spans of people are like, no, I want fast,
yeah.
quick. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you find, like, has your comedy evolved because of what we've seen, these changing landscapes?
It's, my comedy's always in a state of transition. And, Hey-oh. Yeah, what's up, guys? I don't know what that was.
That's showcasing your vocal range.
Yeah.
Look at that range.
I'm working on vocal training, and it hasn't been going. I woke up like half an hour ago, so
I'm pretty sure the industry wants people who can do everything, and you can do everything.
Can I though?
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, maybe. My income doesn't really reflect that, does it? Oh boy, what was the question?
About how your comedy has evolved. Has it evolved with the landscape?
Yes and no. You know, I feel like I've really I'm in my stride in finding my voice and my delivery and my personality. Really, I'm settled into it. I am who I am on stage. But what I'm trying to evolve into, my current challenge is I do love doing Instagram stories because I'm very spontaneous, and if I have a thought in my head, I love to just share it really quick on an Instagram story. And I love to gab. And it's cute and it's fun. But what appeals to me about Instagram stories is that they'll go away in 24 hours. So they can be this unpolished, just a momentary representation of how I feel, just right then and there. And I love the fleeting element of it, and the authenticity of it is like, this is imperfect, it's not polished. It's just me right now having a human moment kind of thing, you know? And what I'm trying to get past is, I think that's a strength of mine, and I need to silence the voice that's like, you should start posting these to main, you should start posting these as posts, because while you stutter here and there, and, you know, you might lose somebody with low attention span because you didn't get to the point within 5 seconds. Like, not being perfect is good enough, and you need to keep up with this fucking content mill, and you need to pump out content. So I think what I'm struggling with is doing, like, to camera, just posting more, even when it feels like I don't have anything to post. And just, like, recording, just me talking to the camera and sending that away. Whatever it may be, opinions on politics, or, you know, how dirty my sink has been for the past 7 months. It's all worth sharing. I need to stop telling myself that it's only worthy of a 24-hour blip. And yeah, just to post more.
Yeah.
Post more.
It's exhausting. And I had somebody tell me one time about social media being like, social media is a full-time job that I don't get paid for and I didn't sign up for. I was like, oof.
100%.
Heavy.
It's, and speaking from a stand-up comedy standpoint, stand-up was all I really wanted to do. Like, yes, I did improv and sketch for a very long time, and I enjoyed it. I resent the fact that I have to become, like, a sketch writer again to supplement my stand-up career, and I have to write sketches for social media. You have to now absorb skill sets outside of what you are meant to do, what you want to do, you know?
Yeah. Do you have any advice for anyone interested in pursuing a career in stand-up maybe later on in life?
Oh, okay. My piece of advice is, especially for people trying stand-up later in life, is the amount of people who message me to be like, I've wanted to do stand-up for years and years, like decades, and I'm almost there. I've been writing, and I think I got something. You're readier than you think you are. Just do it. Just do it. If you keep putting it off, you will never do it. I'm going to talk directly into the camera. Yes. If you keep putting it off, you will never do it. You are readier than you think you are. All you need is 3 to 5 minutes of just some thoughts. And, you know, once you do it, you will understand whether you want to keep doing it or whether once is good enough for you. That's totally A-okay. But stop procrastinating. Go out and do it. Search up open mic nights near me. There are plenty of them. You can message. I might not answer, but I'm pretty good at responding to fans. You can message me directly. Ava Val Comedy on social media, and I will point you in the direction. You know what? Fuck it. If you're in Toronto, look up the Comedy Lab. And they just opened a new venue just yesterday, and I forget. But the Comedy Lab Toronto. I don't know if this podcast goes to people outside of Toronto. Right?
I'll put the links in the show notes below.
Yeah. My piece of advice is just basically just do it. Just do it. Stop putting it off. Look for a spot and take the leap. You will never do it if you don't just commit to taking the leap. Pick a date. Message an open mic and get a date, because once you have that date, your set will finish itself. The looming possibility of a deadline, the looming presence of a deadline will drive you to action and will make you tie up whatever loose ends in your material that you need. So commit, put the date down, and once you're there, you have no choice but to jump. You gotta jump. They're gonna announce your name, and what are you gonna do? You gotta go out there and jump. So set a date.
And
everything else will follow.
Love it.
Just do it. Set a date and do it.
Okay, fine. Do you have any favorite moments in your career?
Oh, I got a few. Oh man, I've done some really cool stuff in my career. I Okay, two stories that I love to tell. Number one, oh, you were there for this one. It was the day I met Janet, or the day after. I guess it was 2 days, right? Or was it one?
Yes.
Yeah, it was 2 days.
Yeah.
So it was the day after I met Janet, and we'd bonded, and we became fast friends. And that weekend, I was performing for JFL Toronto, and I casually in our acting class, I was like, "Yeah, tonight I'm performing downtown," and Janet was like, "I want to come see," and so I performed. It was so cool. It was this outdoor stage. I forget what the theater is, just outside of is it the Sony Theater or something?
Yeah, Sony Theater. Yeah. Like right on Front Street. Yeah.
Yeah, on Front Street and whatever else. And they closed off like a few city blocks and had this big stage. And I performed for like this packed city block, and like I could look up. It was just such a cool, I don't want to say out of body experience, because while I'm performing, I'm still super, super present, but I still have enough consciousness to like take a look around and soak it up, and to be like, this is so cool. I'm performing for like hundreds and hundreds, maybe even 1,000 people out on the street and crushing it. I did great. I was really proud of how I did.
Crushed it.
And like looking up at these skyscrapers with people like standing in the windows looking down at me. I'm like, it was just a moment bigger than me and bigger than my career and everything that I'd worked for. It was just so cool. It was such a rock star moment. And like doing my bike cop bit and getting that big applause and being like, I'm out of here, was just so profound. I'll never forget that.
Oh,
and
it's so awesome.
And if I could keep going with one more.
Yes, please.
Okay. This moment is, so, was it the year before that? Maybe. Also a couple of years ago. Maybe it was the same year. Oh my God, I was on a roll. I did Just for Laughs Montreal, and I did a taping. It was Joe Coy's JFL Gala, and Joe Coy was the host, and it was televised. It was not live. It was filmed for TV at the Theatre Maisonneuve in Montreal, which is a 1,500 person theater.
Wow.
Yeah, 1,500 people. I don't know if JFL Toronto was bigger. I think Theatre Maisonneuve was bigger, but just big audiences, big moment. And whenever I've done a stand-up TV taping, they let you, if you screw up a line or if some tech thing happens to screw up the taping, either they can cut and interrupt you and be like, "Hi, sorry, something screwed up. Can you go back to like the start of the last joke and go back in?" Or you yourself can be like, "Hang on, I didn't like how I set that up. Let me start from the top of that joke." And you can just reset. It's easy. That's a word of advice to comics doing tapings. You can do that. It's totally okay. No one's going to get mad. In fact, it works better for your taping to stop and pause and go back if you need to. So anyways, I went up and I was like a minute in. I was just getting warmed up. People were laughing. It was good. Off to a good start. And mid-sentence, as I'm like setting up a joke, I hear over the sound, over the speakers, just this loud interrupting. It was just like, and it was indistinct. I couldn't make out what was said, but it was just a loud guy too close to a mic who just yelled something. And it was so loud that it interrupted me. And I looked into the wings to be like, maybe there's a producer who's gonna like be like, "Hey, sorry, we were having sound issues, just restart." But like, I looked around and there was nobody saying anything, nobody coming to my help. There was like a long 5 seconds of me just kind of like trying to get an answer. So finally I just looked up at the ceiling. I was like, "God, is that you?" And then I riffed for like 30 seconds on it. I was like, "Can it wait a minute? I'm kind of in the middle of something really important. Like, you should probably know this is one of the biggest moments of my career. Can it wait just another 7 minutes, maybe?" And I just like went off and I kept going. And I forget, but I riffed on it. I was like, "What are you trying to tell me, to be a good person?" I'm like, I know already. I'm kind of trying to do something here. So it was a quick little pop, 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 and it got a huge applause break in this 1,500 seat theater. People just like going nuts for this adaptation, for this, just for the way I winged it. And then I just seamlessly went back into the bit. And it was this moment where on this massive stage where something could have gone horribly wrong for me, I just took it and ran. And, you know, like I said, I don't have those out of body experiences, but I spared a thought when I moved back in where I was like, Ava, that was cool as shit what you just did. You are a fucking pro. You are a G, and that was dope as hell.
I like getting goosebumps. That is so cool. I think that's what people, that feeling I think is what, I don't know about you, but would keep me in this.
Yeah.
Because that's addicting. Because that is, you can't get that in a lot of places in this world. I don't know what drug would give you that. Like, that is, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's more than just the drug of the visceral reaction of an audience laughing. Like, I'm kind of, I'm familiar with that drug. But this has that emotional attachment to it that's like, this is the culmination of so many years of hard work. And oh man, I'm kind of tearing up just thinking about it.
Me too. Like,
this is the culmination of so much agony and suffering and like bombing. And like, look at you go. This is more than just getting that laugh. This is like, yeah.
It's almost like proving to not just the audience, not just the business that has hired you. It's like not just yourself, but like also like your like body self. You know what I mean? Where it's like your body is like realizing like what it can handle. I don't know. It's like a weird like biological thing. Like it's hard to explain, but I'm like feeling that like viscerally, like fuck yes. There's nothing harder.
Yeah, totally.
Like you can handle anything. That's so cool.
Yeah. So after a moment like that, it really did convince me that like that was such a huge conference builder. As if my conference couldn't get high enough. Yeah. That was
you're meant to do this.
I'm here to stay. I'm meant to do this, and there's very little that can shake me. Yeah.
Did they keep that in your taping?
No. So that's the thing. It's this fabled tale now because
even better.
Because
people are going to be like, I was there.
Yeah. Only the 1,500 people that were there saw it happen. Because that's the thing. It wouldn't translate well on TV. You couldn't, I don't think it like picked up in the mics that were being fed to the production. You know what I mean? I was told afterwards, it was a backstage mic that the band or something, it was a hot mic backstage that somebody just happened to like be talking way too close into. And it just, So,
It'll be like the lore of your career.
Yeah, I know. And so that's why a part of me in my head when I tell the story is like, some people aren't going to believe this, but, you know,
1,500 people were there and they'll be like, I remember. Yeah. Do you have anything you are looking forward to coming up?
This is kind of mixed, but like yes and no. I feel like given the current state of American politics and politics in general in Western society, I've got my US work visa. It kicks in June. And the timing of it could not be worse. Well, actually, it could be worse. I could have started doing it when Trump was in office, and I could have just not got it entirely. But I've been approved, or I will be approved to start working in America in June. And while there's a part of me that really dreads deliberately going down there to tour in a culture that is growing increasingly hostile, openly hostile to people like me. Some people tell me I'm overreacting and I'm panicking, but like I really think that politics are a reflection of the people and you know, and vice versa. And it's very visceral. It's very real to me, the hatred for trans people that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me to go to the States to tour, and surely I'll be touring the more progressive cities, of course, but you just never know. Like, there's this growing hatred for people like me, openly. And so while I dread going down there to tour, I'm also really empowered at the thought of I have a gift and I have a power to fight against it with love and joy and happiness and humor. Mm-hmm. And you know what? You can call this, I don't know, conceited, but I like to kind of, it feels bigger than me now. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm allowed to make it so. I think going down there to give hope to my trans community with a terrifyingly high suicide rate and with very little hope, I want to go down there and I want to be a visible, loud, happy, joyous trans person, and I want to lead by example, and I want to spread joy in the face of fucking people who hate us and want to see us miserable. So I'm on a crusade now. I'm like, this isn't just a matter of like getting laughs and filling the void in my soul. I want to bring happiness and hope to people. So I just feel really empowered by that, and I'm looking forward to it. Bring it on. Go fuck yourself. You're not going to keep me down.
Fuck yes. Fuck yeah. You also have an incredible stand-up special that is available online. Yeah. And I will post it in the show notes below.
Thanks.
That is just a freaking riot.
Yeah, check it out. It's really good.
It's really good.
It's really good.
It's it's fucking great.
Yeah.
Do you have any final words of wisdom or advice?
I'm really on this. Call me a millennial for hanging on to this one, but YOLO. I just live by YOLO rules, man. It's informed everything. My decision to come out to begin with in my 30s. It's never too late to choose to make the most of a life, that the only life that you have, and to do the things that you're afraid of, because everything that you want is on the other side of fear. So if you're afraid of something, that's a good sign that you can triumph over it, and you can become a stronger, better, more resilient person having confronted it. So you have one life, and you owe it to yourself to confront your fears and to fight for your fucking happiness, because it's worth it.
Thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you Ava for being my guest this week, and thank you so much for your friendship. I really appreciate you. Now, I mentioned a lot of links in the show notes below. They are there. Definitely check them out. Ava has a incredibly funny stand-up special that I highly recommend. I think I've watched it thrice now. Little bits of it just make me cackle when I'm feeling down. She is so effing funny. She is always posting online about where she is performing. She does a lot of performing, like she was saying, in Toronto, because that's where she's based. But as you heard, she's going to be doing an American tour in 2025. Highly recommend checking that out. She's a legend. She's a legend, y'all. Definitely follow her on Instagram. She's an absolute delight. And as you just heard, a true treasure and friggin' champion. Ugh, she's the best. I hope you will all tune in next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Bye!